What are you building?
We're really trying to reimagine the hiring experience.
Do you feel like you're trying to boil the ocean?
We're trying to grow massively.
We're building the Equinox mobile booking app and the Nike Plus running app.
You should have led with that.
That's an insane go-to-market. That is like ridiculous. Welcome. What's your name?
Amina Sacco.
Amina, you're going to have a minute to pitch and get some feedback. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. What are you building?
We are building the first personalized and social childcare platform designed to connect families and caregivers. So we allow our users to upload pictures, videos, prompts, preferences, and etc. And our algorithm recommends users based on professional and personal aspects. I have been a nanny in New York City for the past 12 years, still am. I built Karama because the current hiring process does not reflect the personal nature of the dynamic between a family and a caregiver. Current platforms are outdated job boards and have no sort of personalization whatsoever. So we're really trying to reimagine the hiring experience. And also, current platforms are not built for caregivers. We're not provided the tools for informed hiring decisions or transparency.
Under a minute. Well done.
Thank you.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah. Amina, wow. Like, this is such a pressing problem, I think, for, like some of my friends who are becoming like young parents in New York.
Yeah.
Like, and even just like understanding like the marketplace and kind of that dynamic for how people pick caregivers is like super challenging. Kind of curious to know, like, how does it work? Like, how are you matching? Let's start there. Like, how are you matching caregivers with families?
So this might not be the most flattering comparison, but we're basically like operating like a dating app, right? So we allow our users to post pictures, videos, both fostering equal transparency. That is something that is really missing within the childcare marketplace. We're using algorithms like pay, location, and we're also using, metrics, like parenting philosophies, interests. Like, example, I worked for a family who loved to hike every Friday after 12 hours. I'm not hiking after 12 hours, but I'm sure that there is a caregiver who loves to hike who can actually be very compatible with that family. So we're really trying to foster meaningful connections that go beyond just transactional, right? Because so our target market is really early Gen Z and late millennials. We're going to be the most,
How old is Gen Z now?
I'm 29.
They're having kids?
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay,
We actually started in 2022.
I'm getting old. It was my birthday yesterday, so I'm feeling it right now.
Birthday.
Thank you very much.
So I think for us, we really go beyond the transactionals like pay and just location. And we really want to think about compatibility because, I mean, we're raising the most important person in their lives, right? So we want to make sure that we have alignment in that.
Yeah. I think like when I see things like this, it reminds me a little bit of like different types of marketplaces that I've seen that have existed within healthcare and specifically actually like senior care right now. So senior care, for example, like there's a lot of marketplaces that are starting to come into existence trying to match different types of caregivers with, folks who might need just like assisted living within their homes. One of the challenges that I see with those is that they're very regional based as far as like when they're trying to like grow and like go with scale. How are you thinking as far as like, are you going to be focused on a specific metropolitan area? Are you trying to, grow massively?
We're trying to grow massively. So we're starting with New York rollout. We're actually going to launch our beta next month. And so we really want to focus on New York to start and eventually move to metropolitan areas because we feel like that is where childcare is most needed. So we're thinking of New York and then hopefully move to San Francisco and et cetera, and then international markets as well.
What's the go-to-market approach? How are you going to solve the problem of filling both sides of a marketplace?
So right now we're starting with caregivers. I'm actually still a nanny. So I have been building community through that. I have partnerships with like nanny and parent Facebook groups that I have been communicating with. We have been having events. And also I'm really thinking about social media because our generation is on like TikTok a lot. So we're trying to really... We're trying to really expose the personal nature and the true nature of childcare. I feel like one of the major issues, especially in this sector, is that these platforms are built for parents. They're not really built for caregivers, and that's not that's not fair. Like, we're in it most of the time. Like, in most cases, we're spending more time with the children than the parents are. So really showing and bringing that to light is how we plan to go to market and be different.
I mean, I can keep going because like I I think about.
I don't want to derail, so you keep going because I feel like I have like a thing.
Okay.
Fine, yeah.
Yeah, no. So another thing that I'm thinking about, just like, and you kind of touched on this a little bit. You said you're going about it from the approach of caregivers.
Yeah.
Would kind of love to know, if this is something where there's multiple marketplaces that exist, like what do you think could be like a potential like moat that you're building for yourself in the future?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase?
Like what will be like your unique offering that you could, that will set you apart if there are other marketplaces, like some that might be well established? From my assumptions, if I'm someone who has a kid and I'm looking for a caregiver, I'm probably going to ask other friends like, hey, what did you use?
Yeah.
Right. And like if there is something that's already established and like has a reputation of like, oh, I use like findananny.com. How, like, what do you think will be like your unique positioning to disrupt this kind of like an established either brand or something within, each different type of metropolitan city that you go to?
So, the main incumbent right now is care.com. And so care.com is very vast. They go from childcare to senior care and et cetera. And on the caregiver side, a lot of us are transferring to like Facebook groups, like literally migrating in large because we don't feel like these platforms are built for us and we don't feel like we have the tools. Like, for example, 90% of interviews happen in home, right? But before the caregiver enters the home, we are background checked, but they're not background checked. So we're entering without very blindly. So that's on the caregiver side. And also on the family side is more so of not having a lot of personalization. Current filters are just by pay and location. And I think as a new generation of parents emerge, we want more. We need more personalization. And with the rise of different types of families, right? Nuclear families, queer families, these platforms do not account for that, right? For example, I am Muslim, and if I'm having children and as I grow up, I would want maybe a Muslim nanny to make sure that my kids are praying on time, right? But on these platforms, you really don't have that sort of personalization.
Do you feel like you're trying to boil the ocean by trying to like, I don't know, accommodate everything? Or I guess that my question is like, your MVP, your first version of this, like, what does this look like? And it's like most simplified, dumbed down version.
So for the MVP right now, we're just matching families and caregivers through our unique profile system. So we are the first to market with sort of the multimedia profile. So that's what we're starting with. And we're just working with families and caregivers. The broader...
But I guess I'm trying to say, like, what filter specifically? Because you're really emphasizing, like, hey, based off of, like, pairing, like, lifestyle. Like, what certain things are you, starting for your V1, lifestyle?
Yeah, so we have over 40 metrics that we weigh. So it starts from like maybe pay, location, to sort of parenting philosophies, childcare responsibilities, household responsibilities. So there are a lot of metrics that are accounted for, and then we weigh that, and then we recommend users. So maybe you need someone who can fold the kids' laundry, but you also want someone who can run errands for you. So basically, our algorithm would our algorithm will look at users and then recommend users who are willing to do these tasks for you.
I have a lot of feedback. Okay, let me start with that end of that answer wasn't so good. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Other companies do that, I'm sure. I'm not a parent. I've not used a caregiver company, but like the idea of like based on an errand, I'm sure it must exist. But you do have what I'm going to refer to here as your sharp edge features, which is, it sounds like the multimedia is one, and then certain filters where you're more focused on both the parents and the caretakers' philosophies is another. Only answer in those stories, like people know that you're going to do filter on location and pay. Don't even verbalize it. Because when you verbalize these other things, I go like, Okay, she's boring me before she excites me again, and she's boring me before she excites me. All right, now I'm going to rewind to overall. I thought I really liked your minute pitch. I've decided I don't because I think it's not doing you some favors that I want you to do for yourself.
Okay.
Let me ask first a question. What does a parent currently go through when this isn't going well? So let's imagine that I have a kid tomorrow, and I'm trying to get somebody who to take care of my kids who I think I'll have a long-term relationship with, and it will work out. What are the worst parts of that? Like, what am I having to do? What am I experiencing as a parent?
As a parent, one, you will have to post on a job board, which is basically like here.com or Sitter City. You have to sit down and manually type in what you're looking for. And then what happens is that you receive an influx of caregivers. One time I was working as a household manager and I literally got like 100 cover letters.
Can you tell who's good when they're applying?
No, not really.
Can you tell who fits you?
On paper, like I've used the same
why
cover.
can't you tell when you get like, all those applications? Why can't you sort properly?
Because you have to like sit down and read through every single one of it.
If you read through everyone, do you think they'd have a good matching rate?
Not personally, but maybe
But why?
professionally. Yeah. Because so for example, like with me, I've used the same cover letter for 10 years.
So the point I'm getting at is this. So there's so I really like what you're building.
Okay.
But I think you're emphasizing different parts of it. Let me put it differently. What I hear is parents currently go through all these job board style, loved the fact you use that as the analogy, these job board style listing sites where they post a job, where they see profiles, but no one's talking about what really matters. And if you zoomed into the parent today, I don't know if this is true, I'm going to make some stuff up. If you zoomed into the parent today, they on average go through 4 nannies before they find one they like. But even when they find one they like, it's on average 2 years because that person's lifestyle changes or something else happens. The experience is basically a lot of trial and error before you get to a result in an expensive and sensitive area. Reality is there's a bunch of signals we would use if we could. But job board style, cover letters and emails and Craigslist don't cover these things. You need to understand for a long-term relationship to exist that the nanny's lifestyle fits the lifestyle of your family, that the parenting philosophy is something. The ideal outcome here is that the nanny is as invested in the parenting style as the parent and becomes a part of that family for the next 7 years and is talked about forever and ever. But that ideal outcome is only achieved 0.5% of the time. By unraveling these filters and using multimedia, et cetera, we're bringing both sides the data they need to facilitate a better match and a better opt-in conversation than has ever happened before. That's what I think you should talk about. One of the things that I'm also doing very differently than you, I know this is going to be hard for you, I don't like when you talk about focusing on the caretaker. Not because you're not focusing on the caretaker, but by doing that, you're not focusing on the positives that focusing on the caretaker brings to everybody. When you talk about a caretaker's profile being multimedia, being about what they bring to the table philosophically, what they want, and parents doing the same thing, it benefits the caretaker. So I'm not taking away from you the ability to say caretakers' lives should be better. You can even still have that as a tagline, but it's by making better matches happen. The point is better matches, not better experiences for caretakers. Right? That's going to be better for caretakers. Longer, better paying, more fulfilling relationships with their families.
Yeah.
And so you got to re-ent your story. And again, I think investors will like that better too, because I think a lot of questions Lauren's asking is like this from this place of like, all right, tactically, they're just going to compete with you. But you're going, no, hold on. There's a better match happening here. And then the questions that'll come for you, this is going to be good, by the way, when this happens to you. You will just get the marketplace questions of like, how do you prevent churn? How do you, someone's going to copy you? What's your go-to-market? That'll be all the boring questions and you'll have your answers and you'll be wrong, by the way, about most of them. Then you'll try, and then you'll succeed. That's normal. But there's this first part of just how interesting you are that I want you to tell like at this full force way. I think a lot of people, again, like, I'm fascinated. And again, I love that you brought up senior care. While you were talking about, I don't know if this is an area you want to go to later or not, but it was compelling to me because my father, about a year and a half ago at this point, fell into early dementia, and I was looking into some of this stuff. And you're right. It's like, I'm looking at, some of the startups are interesting, but a lot of these older companies, it's like, I can't tell what's going on here. And, I have to decide I care and therefore put in a lot of work. Or it might be temporary outcome after temporary outcome. What am I relenting to? And I don't want to relent. So that's why I find this so compelling.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
That is so much better.
Well, it's recorded, so you can use it. It sounds like an amazing mission that you're on. So good luck with it. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Marketplaces? How do you feel about them?
Ooh, they're hard. But I spent some time with some investors who like love marketplaces, just because I think a lot of people are just like, oh, marketplaces are hard. And like they actually can make sense. Like there's certain dynamics about marketplaces that do make them attractive, but they're hard.
I think the thing that we got into in venture with marketplaces is like most of them marketplaces as a category started during like the ZERP very weird period. I don't know if we know what marketplaces look like in a more sane fundraising environment, because I think like we take this version of marketplaces that like 7 of them raised at the same time and must fight each other to the death.
Yeah.
And we go, okay, great. We don't want to participate in marketplaces as much as we used to. Whereas we should go, every marketplace can kind of now be considered on its own. Yeah. Because the market for marketplaces is cool. It was almost like if you were a marketplace startup, or by the way, if you're the second one in an industry, another VC would be like, I didn't get in that first deal, let me get in this one.
Yep, exactly.
The default competition was the problem.
Yeah, and I think like sometimes it's the competition. I think sometimes it's how it's structured. Like, for marketplaces, for example, that might be either owning the assets that they're selling. Like, I think those are a bit more challenging than like those that are like more so managing like transactions and just like taking a cut. Or even like, hey, like super high ticket items that are being sold, and like, having a portion of that in, like rev share there versus like, we're having thousands of like tiny transactions every day. Like marketplaces as a business is hard, but I think it's more so hard because like, finding that balance of supply and demand is a really tricky thing to.
Every micro decision you make and go to market and like how much you get involved is, it impacts everything.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So welcome to the last founder
Let's
stage.
do it.
Founder number 6, welcome. All right, what's your name?
Ben Borton.
Ben, you're going to be our last up. It's a lot of pressure, and I'm just kidding. You have a minute to pitch and tell us about your business, get some feedback. You ready?
Yes.
What are you building?
So the
Sorry, I didn't mean to put pressure on you.
That's fun. The sports club business in the U.S. did $32 billion in revenue last year, and they spent close to a third of that on labor. We think a bunch of that budget is going to go towards tech over time. PodPlay is the platform for modern sports venues. We do mobile-first bookings. We do integrated video replays and scoreboards, and we can allow clubs to operate without staff on site. The catalyst for the business has been pickleball. It's the fastest growing sport in the U.S., and all other sports clubs are having to evolve in order to compete with pickleball. And we're winning in the pickleball market. We launched in Q4 of 2023, and we've booked $1.5 million in contracted ARR, and we've onboarded 500,000 customers to the platform already.
Well done. Super interesting. Just as a clarifying question, that 1.5, that's in like marketplace revenue or in your take?
Our take, contracted ARR.
So it's ARR. So this is SaaS.
Annual recurring revenue.
Right. So this is SaaS
business,
now. And it's pure SaaS, as in I imagine for a second you might do like some sort of venue matching. That's not part of it.
No,
cool.
Pure SaaS business.
What got you into this?
So we started as a venue operating business. Do you guys live in New York?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever seen a ping pod?
Is that the ping pong?
Yeah. So we built a network of autonomous table tennis studios.
Is this the same company or is this?
This is the technology that was built to power ping pod. And
so for those who don't know in New York, if you're walking down the street in New York, every once in a while you turn to the left and people are playing ping pong right next to you behind the glass. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, this will be like an interesting, do I understand? I like ping pong. I had a ping pong table in my basement, but I have still not done this. I always say I want to when I see it. You can book through a mobile application and they'll have like a billboard with a QR code outside of it. Time with a ping pong table that are strategically located, obviously, in metro areas. And you're booking, an hour at a time in an enclosed room, an enclosed space, and you own those spaces.
We own those spaces. No employees on site.
There's no employees on site.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is an important element to the business. I mean, there's a labor replacement, which is why we kind of brought up labor as kind of the market that we're going after.
No labor?
We started that way, yeah. So the original insight was, if you looked at kind of the ping pong market in New York City in 2019, which is when we got started, you had kind of large entertainment destination on one side, Spin. I don't know if you've ever been there. Food, booze, ping pong, corporate buyouts. They do that incredibly well. We're really friendly with them. At the other end of the spectrum, you had kind of basement dojo style clubs, and there was nothing in between. So there's probably a lot of people like you who played growing up. Then they moved to New York City. There's no place to play. I mean, it'd be a really bad idea to have a ping pong table in your apartment. I mean, it's very uneconomic. And the reason why those ping pong clubs didn't exist in New York City, you have relatively high rents, you have relatively high labor costs. So we looked at that and said, hey, if we could do something about that labor piece, insert technology, there could be a third way to do this. And if you could do that, you could stay open 24 hours, which we do, increase capacity, reduce labor costs. So now we're shrinking the hurdle to achieve profitability. And if you could do those two things, so you could do smaller format places that weren't dependent on food and booze.
Got it. And then just a question for my understanding. Who are you selling to?
We're selling to sports clubs.
Okay.
So 80% of our clients are pickleball clubs.
Got it.
At this point, average annual contract value is a little over $11,000.
Okay.
How does the business grow? More locations. It's great to be in the pickleball
Define
market.
sports club for me.
Yeah.
So pickleball is our core market, but we have pickleball. We serve ping pong.
No,
we do
what is a
pool.
sports club?
Like, is it like a group of people? Is it like
No,
the
it's
venue
a-
itself?
It's
Is
the
it...
venue itself. So it's a place where people go. It's a physical space where
So just so
people
you know,
go.
this I think confused both of us. I thought I imagine a sports club would be a team or like a post college. Like I have friends who like play pickleball or baseball or softball or whatever, and they call those clubs. So in your case, these are
Venues.
really venues, yeah.
Yes.
And these are venues, though. I guess this is the important part. These are venues that are already doing the sport.
Yes. These are places where people go to play a sport.
So this would be like, I'm from Michigan originally. So we used to have like YMCAs, for example. So like you would be selling to like a YMCA.
Potentially a YMCA if they decided to modernize.
Okay. Yes, exactly.
Is the important part of that, by the way,
it's
a single cultural experience as the definition of modernized? Because like they could, put off a section of their space, let's say for ping pong. Would that be appealing to you, or do you have a customer enforcement that you want because you want them to look and feel a certain way culturally?
No, we don't. We have multi-use clients. So we have some clients that are doing multiple sports within the same venue. Many of them are single sport. But we look at our target market does it take place in a physical space? Does it require reservation? Could it be augmented by video and social? And would it benefit from labor reduction? Those are the things that are our target market. Now, why pickleball? If you're going to do a vertical SaaS business, you want to align yourself with a greenfield market where it's a growing market. We're growing market share in it, and it's driving the rest of the market with it. So if we can satisfy that market, then we should win a much bigger market.
I think it makes sense completely that you're going with like pickleball because it is like developing and evolving, and folks are still trying to figure out, like there's people who are like, oh, what's pickleball? And so being a first mover, I think in a growing industry for sure is awesome. But when you think about like maybe some other like more established ones, maybe like racquetball, for example, or squash, like how do you think about where you fit within, maybe a bit more established sports that, and like trying to incorporate into those flows?
Yeah, so it's about modernizing. Pickleball is the catalyst.
Yeah.
Because it's very profitable at this point. And it's not encumbered by existing business models, so sort of like existing membership models or existing ways of booking. So they've been able to innovate in terms of how the business model works. Now, one of the other things that we kind of bring to the table, it's not just kind of a modern mobile first experience. It's not, I think a lot of booking apps were built for the desktop, and they don't translate very well to mobile. So one of our assumptions is that 95% of booking is going to happen on a phone. So you have a mobile-first solution. The second piece is integrating hardware and software. So we do video replays and digital scoreboards. So you walk into these spaces. If you've been to a ping pod, maybe you've looked in. We have scoreboards, so you can keep score while you're doing it. And then if you have a great moment, you just press a button. We're going to capture that. We're going to deliver that both to the screen in club experience, right? So you have kind of that your own sports center moment that's pretty magical. And then you're getting it delivered to your app. And people are sharing those out on social media. Again, this is the modern experience. People don't just want to play the game. They want to share their experience playing it. And that is magical marketing for the club. So we see ourselves, if you want to position yourself and you want to compete, you're going to need to have these features in order to compete with.
As I think just like more about it, I think like there's a couple of like two big thoughts that come to my mind. The first one is, we're seeing a lot more booking apps that are starting to come into play, right? Like you've got your ClassPass, you've got your MindBody, you've got like different types of, apps within the fitness space of like how people are reserving or like finding things. One, I'm curious to know how you're thinking about positioning yourself in a landscape where there are so many different types of booking platforms is the first thing I think about. And then the second thing I think about is for other verticals that you might go after where the end user of your product is different than the buyer, how are you thinking about like penetrating past pickleball?
First is we compete on ROI, not price. So, I mean, we're the newest entrants in our market. We're actually the highest price point, and it's because we're offering really high ROI. So these features are driving new lines of revenue for the businesses. So you can sell replays. You can put sponsor logos on them. You have a presented by sponsor logo. When you do the instant replay, we say it's billboards, but better because it's highly engaging. Everybody's staring at it. They're having that Sports Center moment. Very valuable to sponsors. You can do it as an upsell on memberships. You can sell unlimited replays as part of a private party package. So there's a whole bunch of new lines of revenue that come out of this technology. But the second piece, what you're talking about, it's very much a B2B2C thing. So we only succeed insofar as those end customers, the players, love the product, right? And if they love the product and they're going to go to that next club and say, why don't you have this? So we always build with that end customer in mind. And I think one of the things that distinguishes us in the marketplace is the best user experience. And we try and take all the friction out. I attribute a lot of that to our tech team. It's led by a guy named Ilya Rifkin, who spent the bulk of his career at a digital agency called RGA. His big projects there were building the Equinox mobile booking app and the Nike Plus running app. So he's built
You should have led with that.
Good credentials. Those are good credentials.
Very large-scaled consumer apps. And that is kind of at the core of what we do from kind of a building standpoint is the design principles. And I think the biggest design principle is less is more. There are a lot of booking apps that kind of add functionality on top of functionality on top of functionality, and they end up looking like a Frankenstein that's a really bad experience for the people who are using it. So we're very cognizant about kind of what we put in and what we don't. So we never want to put in functionality that's going to worsify the experience.
Worsify. That's a fun word. First question, implementation. Who has to put in, let's say it's instant replay? Do they have to have their
hardware?
Yeah.
So we do all of the hardware and configuration. We have a 30-page hardware installation guide. Our hardware team will remotely oversee the installations. The people who are doing basically like the low voltage and AV work for the clubs will be able to do the installs. I mean, you can think of this as like an IKEA model where very detailed instructions that should
do they
be able
wind
to
up
do
owning the hardware, or is it a
they own
model?
the hardware? Yeah. So we sell them the hardware.
It's interesting. The feedback loop is very different every week. This is the first week in a while where like I'm actually genuinely compelled by I think all of the pitches, but almost everybody is telling like a C tier version of their story, and you're included. You have a great version of your story that like came out as you went, but you have so many advantages. And one of the things that all of you have in common, and I'll come here, is there's like a personal story, in your case, personal through the business. What was it called again? Ping Pod. That can be so compelling at the center of your startup narrative. Because what I wanted to hear from you, as an example, is this is my second business. You might have seen my first one, Ping Pod, where people play ping pong around New York through a booking app. It's not staffed. There's no labor cost. We put a ping pong table inside an unused space, and we monetize it effectively through, what do you call them, sandwich boards across the city, where someone's going to see someone playing, scan a code, have a social experience, share it with their friends afterwards. And we had this notion, the reason we built this business was this notion that we had. And the reality is every physical location that has a similar sports activity, I don't want to use the word sports club, whether it's pickleball, racquetball, ping pong, whatever, you name it, would benefit from modernization. It's even the thing that you critiqued all these other people for. I want you to like have as the emphasis of your pitch. What does modernization look like? Instant replay, instant booking, instant XYZ factor, where we knew from what we did, we could have better real estate availability. We could pick our spots better. We didn't need labor to live or have space for, front desk. But for a place that does have any of these places, imagine you go to your local boxing gym and how much revenue they're losing because they still do everything on paper. And XYZ factors preventing them from modernizing. When you sign up with us, here's the 7 things that we make easy for you to do instantly like this. And here's how much modernization can happen in 2 seconds. And so we can take that boxing gym, and we think every boxing gym is leaving, I'm going to guess, double the revenue. I don't know. That's like me selling your business a little too hard. But like, to me, instant replay, like you said that twice sheepishly during this entire conversation, I would be shouting that user experience on the rooftop because it also answers her question. She didn't say it explicitly and she asked you a question because you're not emphasizing. But how do you get other legacy players, racquetball club and the boxing gym? Well, when they see the videos of this company being shared all over the place and they go, why is that boxing gym have so much social media from random event goers? That's an insane go-to-market. That is like ridiculous. They're going to find out ASAP. Someone's going to be hit in the head and find out ASAP, how do we have that same functionality inside of our spot? That is so compelling versus what I think, and again, it's this thing, founders are so in it, right? You're so in it. It's not the booking. The booking is, and Lauren even mentioned this, it's kind of trivial. And you use a lot of booking terms even when you're telling other parts of the story. Like we like, it feels at the center of what you think matters. I think everything, though, you would hopefully agree with me, you tell me, that succeeded about Ping Pod, it was about the reality of what you get out of going to one of those experiences. The reason I don't go and find a ping pong table right now, yes, I enjoyed it as a kid. I loved having it in my basement. We had one for a while at Fraser. Do we still have it? No, we sold it. We had one for a while in our last office. I also somewhat don't feel like I'm going to get the reward, right? Like I enjoyed it, but I don't need to play it. So I haven't in 5 years. But if I could share it with friends, if I could have this experience that was easy to book and we got so many things out of it and we got to put it on Instagram, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that's the real reason that I assume it succeeded. Would you generally agree?
Yeah, I think it's a piece of it.
Well, and then there's a financial portion that benefited you, right? Which is like, then you got to put it in a certain space and give it to me at scale and give it to me the way I wanted to, which is because of your optimization, which is what you then are now selling to businesses. I would focus way more on that portion of the story. And again, especially to outsiders, maybe this is the thing too, that sounds so much less, so much more defensible than we are easier booking for things like a ping pong table.
Yeah, and I think this kind of goes back to when you mentioned like it's B2B to C, and I'm sure you might know this, but like companies and enterprises get really excited about additional revenue streams, and I think like that's one of the things that's awesome about this is like, for sure, experience is going to be better. Like I feel like everyone who likes going to sports clubs or like I mean I've gone to like play pickleball or paddle whatever and being like, oh, I wish I took a picture or like a video. Like that would have been really cool from my point of view. But if I'm the person buying this, if I'm, the business or whoever, if I'm seeing like additional revenue streams, like that's awesome, right? Like I think like that's what's getting these.
It took us for a while to get that digital billboard, which again, I loved the idea of the digital billboard, easy sponsorship. By the way, again, you pointing out why people don't do that. How are you going to convince the person who's probably older, who owns the racquetball club or whatever to put a TV screen up to enable that? And by the way, it needs to have the right software to run it. And all the people who that person hires are not going to be the right people to think about it in a way where they're going to do it on their own. That's super compelling.
Yeah.
I do think the problem every business is trying to solve is profitability. So it does come down to ROI. It's can you increase revenue? And you
keep in mind a lot of the things, and you might not agree with me because I can tell it's not hitting for you, but I'm going to tell you this is the truth. The things that you bring up don't sound necessary until you put it all together in the experience, right? So you think it's profitability and ROI, and you're right. But when you say easier booking, oh yeah, but I can do a lot of things better. And every business owner could do, there's a laundry list of things that they could do, but they decide not to because they want to go home to their kids or whatever else, right? And so you're saying together, all of these things create such a compelling experience for the end user that then the profitability will happen. I don't think it's because of easier booking or monetization. it's because of the experience somebody has that forces everybody to have to level up. You're raising the bar, right? That's essentially what you're doing. You're saying the experience is just going to default be better. Unless, by the way, maybe this is the other thing that's happening, you could instead just have a labor cost conversation. And then you're going to sell to B2B investors that just love talking numbers and about a spreadsheet where they're going, oh, you're going to drive the labor cost down because XYZ thing can come off the balance sheet. But you're kind of in limbo. You're doing a little bit of each right now. And maybe that's the place that I'd say, like, pick one of those and emphasize entirely, I'm just going to show everybody there's a spreadsheet that we can change for every business that's one of our subscribers. Or we're leveling up the experience for every one of these venues. The middle ground's a little hard. But I really like it. So good luck.
All right. Thank you.